The greatest bracket in March Madness history was filled out on accident by a guy who forgot he even made it. See, before 2019, the longest a bracket had ever been perfect was just 39 games. This record was set in 2017 and was done by someone who picked every first round game correctly and half of the second round before Iowa State lost to Purdue. Now, the odds of picking each one of the 67 March Madness games perfectly is about 1 in 120 billion. But for 1 week, a random fan in Ohio came closer than anyone ever has before. See, on the first day of the 2019 tournament, 45-year-old Greg Nigel woke up feeling horribly sick. This wasn't ideal because he and his family were set to travel to Vermont in 2 days for a ski trip. So in order to recuperate, he called in sick from work and planned to lay on the couch and watch basketball all day. However, he was so sick that he never actually turned on the TV, only later finding out that number 1 seed Gonzaga had won their first round game by 40 and number 13 seed UC Irvine had pulled off an upset over Kansas State. Fast forward 2 days later, and Greg felt well enough to make the 12-hour drive to Vermont during the round of 32. However, he was completely unaware of the history he was in the middle of making, because upon waking up on Sunday morning in his ski lodge, he had a message from a coworker who said the NCAA was trying to get a hold of him. Confused, Greg called them back on Monday and learned that he had accurately predicted the first 48 games of the tournament correctly. For reference, that's every game in the first 2 rounds, something the NCAA believes has never happened before. But then they told him something he wasn't expecting. His bracket was in a group called Center Road, and it was the only bracket in that group. And what's even crazier is that Greg has no recollection of even filling out the bracket that they were referring to. But as the NCAA representative kept talking, a dazed memory crept back for Craig. He vaguely recalled getting an alert an hour before the tournament tipped off on Thursday when he called in sick from work. He was really out of it that morning, but recalls filling out one final bracket just before tip-off. And this was the bracket that ended up being perfect. During the call, the NCAA offered to fly him and his son out to LA at the end of the week to watch his Michigan Wolverines play in the Sweet 16. Craig agreed and embarked on a trip that included a press tour, $500 in spending money, a rental car, hotel, and tickets to the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 games. And that Thursday night, he hit his 49th straight pick with the Virginia win over Oregon, which meant he was 80% of the way to a perfect bracket. Experts estimate that Greg had a better chance of winning the Powerball twice than picking the first 49 games correctly. But then, as he settled into his seat to watch Michigan take on Texas Tech, he got a notification that Purdue had beaten Tennessee in overtime, ruining his perfect bracket. And things only got worse from there. Greg missed on 3 of his 8 Sweet 16 games, and only 1 of his final 4 picks made it. Not to mention that neither one of the teams he had in his championship, Kentucky or Gonzaga, even made it to the Final 4. And the most ironic part is that by the time the tournament finished, Greg's bracket probably would have finished in the middle of the pack in most bracket pools. But at least he's still the proud holder of a record that will probably never be broken.